Thank you, Andrea. Thank you to all of them who made a speech to us and brought up a deeper discussion. Luca, thank you very much for being with us. Yes, we have the last minutes now of our wonderful event, a 2 days event, and one person is waiting in the room to be connected with us in Lima, Peru. That is Manuel Pulgar-Vidal, former president of the COP in Peru, just that year before the Paris Climate Agreement, and he worked very well and excellent, and he's still very much involved in the process towards Glasgow. So we want to invite first Manuel to give us some words, some insights, what we can hope for Glasgow and what has to be done in Glasgow. Manuel, you are with us. Good morning.
Good morning, Klaus. How are you? And hello to you all. Okay, friends. So what should we expect of the COP26? To be a great and successful COP. Because this COP, it is the COP that must honor the Paris Agreement. It is a COP that should demonstrate and show that we can put our work into a good trajectory to fulfill with the threshold of the 1.5 and our objective of being net zero by 2050. So to do that, we do need to have the G20 with a really not only a strong statement, but clear and achievable commitments. And to do that, we don't need to reinvent the wheel. Let me just refer to what the G7, the climate and environment ministers during the G7 session approved as a communique. Because that communique has the elements that should be part also of the G20 decision. First element, we do need to recognize that we are living in an intertwined crisis. Health, climate, nature are intertwined. And that is something that it is important if we are planning to connect our actions into the 2030 agenda. That's a key element. Second, we should keep our ambition. And to do that, we do need to put the world into a clear trajectory into the 1.5, but with clear net zero target by 2050 and by raising ambition by 2030. That is a clear element. And the only way to do that, it is by fulfilling to enhance our NDC and to prepare and approve our long-term strategies. Not every country of the G20, unfortunately, have already fulfilled with an enhanced or updated NDC. And the recent synthesis report of the UNFCCC, it is saying that just 164 countries have done it, some new, some updated NDCs, and with those NDCs, we are moving the temperature to be close to 2.7 degrees by the end of the century. So friends of the G20, there are no excuses. The world is expecting to you to have you putting on the table a new, enhanced, and ambitious NDC that should be and must be well connected with a long-term strategy. And for sure, that also includes to define clear targets for adaptation. The most vulnerable countries are suffering. The poorest people of the world is suffering the consequences of the climate change, and we do need to have clear national adaptation plans. So those are the means of implementation that we defined with the Paris Agreement and that we must honor by this COP26. And also I have heard the importance of aligning finance. And remember that finance, it is funds for sure, and we must keep our efforts to achieve the 100 billion pledge and start to define what it should be the next pledge. But it is more than that. It is also to work in transparency and disclosure of the financial portfolios, but probably more than that, it is to align the portfolios with 1.5. We must verify that the financial portfolios are not including investment in fossil fuels, mostly in coal, but some others, and that are including investment toward sustainable development and towards a clear green and circular economy. Also, we are in a time in which countries should continue defining clear efforts to, by adopting carbon pricing policies, could define clear incentives for sustainable and climate responsible actions. And this for sure, it is also related to how can we secure high integrity of voluntary carbon markets that should fit their actions with the compliance markets and also should be aligned with countries' indices. So all what it is related to the discussion on Article 6, it must be closed. We cannot postpone the rule book, and for that, the Article 6, it is a clear one. Fortunately, in recent days, we have heard good news about the coal phase out. That is good, but not enough, not yet enough. So we do need to continue pushing and encouraging countries to define clear timeframes to as soon as it is possible phase out coal and gradually the other fossil fuels. That is a key element, and this is also related to the clear elimination of subsidies to the fossil fuels. Let me finish by referring to something that in my first point I mentioned, the importance of start to converge and to recognize this intertwined crisis. In that sense, our relation with nature, it is a key one. And we have, with nature-based solution, a strong and key element that it must be reinforced as a way to have countries addressing the climate and the nature crisis at the same time. Nature-based solutions could help to address an important percentage of the climate crisis, but by securing a sustainable intervention to nature. So those are the elements that we are expecting to have the G20 addressing well. This is not time for discussions. This is time for decision. This is time to have countries honoring their promise. The world is looking you. The world is expecting you to have you taking good decision, because it is the only way in this first year of the decisive decade to move the world into a good trajectory and to achieve our targets as the only way to secure sustainable development for current and future generations. Thank you very much, and thank you, Klaus.
Thank you, Manuel. It was really great to get more insights and understanding in what is in front of us and what is the importance that the G20 have to move. I didn't mention that Manuel Pulgar-Vidal today is the head of the climate program of WWF International, Wildlife Fund International, and WWF is a foundation, and so they are also partner foundation at F20, and he's in our steering group. Very helpful to have these experienced people with us. Now I want to hand over to you, dear Marisa, as my co-chair here in Italy, because it's so important to get some words, some insights, how important it was to be here with you in Italy, what you think, what you hope, what could be a process in front of us and for you. And of course, we all have to do quite a lot up to the end of October when the G20 summit will take place in Rome. Some words from your side.
Thank you. Thank you to everybody to have been here with us these 2 days, very full of inputs. Thank you to all the speakers and to the more than 400 people that listen us around for the world, and the 50 that are here in the room with us in Milan. We have got a lot of inputs to bring to the G20 participant, especially respect to the future issue that has to be managed by the G20 and the G7. we enforce the concept to develop and adopt a global strategy on food production. And this is really challenging because we will have to bring with us a lot of the C20 members to push toward these results. We will have to manage the biodiversity, like the new strategic emerging risk. And to do that, we probably will have to work some more with the G20, with the B20 group to change the way to produce and to stay locally based by the company. And also with them, it's been a big pleasure to listen that they agree that there is the necessity to change the carbon pricing, because it's definitely one of the issues that we have to fight for. Not only the carbon pricing for company, but also the border carbon adjustment, that is a critical point. But what we listened this morning was also respect the necessity to broken the circle between poverty and climate, starting at the local level with a special focus on citizen and SMEs and third sector, because a key point of the local community. To go faster in picking up just some of the numerous aspects that they bring to us in this today, what is definitely important is to work together, to work in a complex and holistic global way. And I can invite here especially all the foundations at national, at the global level, to learn more, to exchange practice, to absorb energy each other, and to work for the same, just a few common objective, but really in a cooperative way, and moving from the deal, from the appeal, from the blah blah approach to a real concrete action. We need to enforce our finance effort to combat climate change and to develop strategies for SDGs before 2030. To conclude, I think that we have to join force to bring a concrete solution at our local level, at national level in Italy, without forget to look at the international level, and F20 will be an extraordinary occasion to stay connected at the global world.
Thank you so much, Marisa. I hand over now to Ilham Habibie again in Jakarta. He will be our, both of us, co-chair, third co-chair from the 1st of December on. Ilham, hello to Jakarta. It's great to have you with us. Perhaps you can give some ideas, expectations for a future cooperation among us, and also what could be the landscape for the process in the next month and next 1.5 years. Ilham, it's up to you.
Yes, thank you very much, Klaus. And again, thank you for having me here tonight. It has been a pleasure to listen to all these speeches, although I have to confess that I did not attend the full 2 days, but at least for a few hours in the last 2-3 hours. Well, first of all, addressing what you just said, Klaus, yes, Indonesia will be next year the G20 host, and therefore F20 will be also very intensively collaborating with Indonesia. And there's 3 foundations here that are in this regard active in the F20 organization, which is Bina Swadaya, as we already saw before, headed by Mr. Bambang. And then there's another foundation called Wahid Foundation, and ourselves, the Habibie Center. And we are all, of course, happily ready to collaborate with everybody here in the F20 system and in the ecosystem, and there's a lot of things to do. Let me give you some facts about Indonesia, which is actually a very large country, as probably all of us know, with a 70% water and 30% land only, but it is a span like Europe. If you put the western tip of Indonesia on the map in, say, London, then the eastern tip will be beyond Moscow. So it's really, really big. And from a climate land asset perspective, Indonesia hosts 21% of the world's mangrove. It is the third largest rainforest that we have in the planet after Brazil and after Congo, or the Congo Basin. And the situation we got in the rainforest is quite sad. Actually, it's very depressing. I mean, in the 60s of the last centuries, we still had about 80% of our land area was still forest, and now it has depreciated to less than half of the existing in the 60s. So we have only 40% of less of our land is now forested. And a third point, which is actually in correlation with the rainforest, is the peatland. So peatland that we have in the tropics, it's 23% of the world's tropical peatland is with Indonesia, is Indonesia. So you can imagine that our contribution in Indonesia to whatever we can do regarding improving the climate situation, in fact, also finding a solution, is related to how we manage these assets and how we can make good, responsible use of that in order to basically improve the status quo. And my personal hope, I mean, I'll give you a lot of numbers right now. Another thing that we have to remind ourselves, Indonesia's population is very young. We have about 65 to 70% are under 40. What does it mean? Well, we are actually talking about the future of this generation, that they will still be living in a world that is relatively balanced when it comes to our human sphere and the climate. It is necessary to basically have a decent, good life on this planet. So what I see basically is three things. I mean, first of all, what we have to do, and we are doing this already in Indonesia, we have to basically be more active to provide, and that's maybe not confined in Indonesia, but actually in the world, scientifically curated data and do research on that in a transparent manner. And that, I think, the digital factor is very important on that. And when it comes to research, I think all countries, including Indonesia, or particularly Indonesia, we have always problems funding that. And so there need to be global mechanisms to fund research that is of global relevance, basically. The second thing I like to say here is basically also talking about something that has been addressed before, which is, yes, there are global ideas, but when it comes to innovation, it's always local. So local implementation. And Indonesia is a country, as I said, which is very young in demographics. And therefore, I mean, luckily, Indonesia is also a country which is very dynamic when it comes to startups. I mean, when you talk about the second-tier startups, so not Silicon Valley, not Berlin, not London, not Stockholm, etc., then Indonesia comes actually quite high in ranks. After Mumbai in India, in Jakarta ranks number 2. And we do have already a lot of startups which are active in many regards, let's say in fintech or in e-commerce, etc. But I think to unleash the potential of the young dynamics and basically a youth movement can be actually funneled into the climate tech. I think climate tech as a youth inspired or youth-driven movement can hopefully bring solutions to the table that we can contribute for Indonesia, to Indonesia itself, but also for other countries or with other countries. And the last thing, I think, Klaus, you mentioned that already, and also Marisa, collaboration. There's no one country that can do it itself, and it's actually not advisable. Global innovation, the best of innovation comes through collaboration, because collaboration is key to get the best ideas on the table and basically discuss it and implement and maybe make mistakes, correct it again, etc., etc. And we can do it fast. And so the global innovation doesn't mean that there's a time lag. In fact, I think because of the fact that the ideas are propelled 24/7 around the world in different time zones, it makes it actually faster. So I'm looking into forms of B2B collaboration or public-private partnership between countries. And I think particularly about, I mean, the chair of next year will be G20. Why not do with the chair of G7, which will be Germany? And there's a lot of German-Indonesian collaboration already, but of course, with any country is as good as that. And lastly, I think there's also interestingly some very interesting activist groups which are art science based. So even artists in Indonesia, they are understanding more and more how to use science to tackle today's challenges and find tomorrow's solutions. I think that's what I have to say. I'm looking very much forward to the next year in the coming months. And thanks for having me here again. And I give it back to you, Klaus.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Ilham. I think all of us got appetite to come over to Jakarta next year when we have our event in your wonderful country. I spoke already with Marisa, my co-chair. She's willing to come over with me too. So let's see what can happen. And I think I can't more agree with you. Collaboration is absolutely crucial. And I think there's much more possible in front of us, and let's find it out. I have 4 points from the discussion we had today, and that is also together with you, Ilham, a very good experience, that is trust. Trust building, I think, is so important, and foundations, philanthropists can help. But they should do it. It's also their obligation to go in to this field and to do the utmost what is possible. The next point is the next years are really critical. We can't wait and say, oh, in 10 years we are ready and we prepare well. No, it has to be done now. So all hands on deck. I also address you here from foundations in the room and also outside. We have more than 400 listeners and viewers in the world. That's great. And I again want to say you can review the whole thing during the next days and the next weeks on the webpage of F20. But this urgency, I think, it's absolutely important when I see you from Sicily, the Mediterranean as a hotspot for the climate crisis, and where you look around, at many places it's very visible and the catastrophes already have happened. Third point is really cooperation is possible, but it's also happening. But look around, what are the more networks we can use and how we can integrate them in the right ways, be it on the business side, be it on the NGO side and so, but we should know from each other and multiply our impact. And the last point, of course, from F20 is, yes, foundations can be part of the solution. Tony Babington focused on this, and Keith Porter also from our partner foundations. Yes, foundations can do a lot to be part of the solution, but they must be active and they must be visible with this. And so I want to encourage all of you to follow on this, to follow on all our tracks where we are going to. And next year will be very, very challenging. That is very clear. Now I come to the end, and I want to say thank you. First, thank you to all our wonderful speakers. That was really great what we could hear, and all these wonderful contributions. And as said before, you can review these also part by part, what you have seen already in the last 2 days. And then I want to say thank you to Cariplo Foundation again, and our other partner foundations, Community Foundation, Messina, Compagnia, and Unipolis. That was great to do it together, but Cariplo, of course, as a host of this activity here in Milan, a huge thank you. And in between of Cariplo, a great thank you to the Meat Center and all the wonderful people there in the back. You did a wonderful job. And Giorgio, he is here. Giorgio, please stand up and applause and for all of you again. Together we had some problems yesterday, but in solidarity we found a good solution. Most people here in the room didn't recognize that there was any problem. We had a wonderful program nevertheless. So that was really great. And then a huge thank you to Connie, to Andrea, to both of you. You really did a wonderful job. That was wonderful. We all thought since 20 years you are working together and are doing this together. It was first time, as we know, but it was really exciting and fantastic. And there is a little thank you to take it away. Connie, I know you stay in Italy, so these flowers, that's perhaps good to take it with you. And the same for you, Andrea.
Well, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. And last but not least, of course, I want to thank you, the F20 team. Since a long time, Karina, Ariane, Anna, Anja, and Stefan, of course. Perhaps you can imagine what you have to do to bring up this line of people on the screen or here in the room. But I think also with those who couldn't come, we had, of course, many contacts with other people all over the world, but that is also part of our advocacy work, that we try to reach out to people to make them interested in what we are doing. And so, yeah, that was a good job, and we will see how we can do it next year. And this year was a very much a European approach. And so let's cross fingers what will be the outcome of the G20 summit. Good courage up to Mr. Draghi and his people and his team. They are now in responsibility on this. And then the good message from Rome up to Glasgow. That is absolutely crucial.
And because you can't thank yourself, Klaus, I need to say a big thank you to you as well and to your leadership for the F20, for the establishment of the F20, and for the wonderful collaboration with everyone. I think this is really unprecedented. Thank you.
Okay, we say bye-bye and thank you for those who are here in the room. There is some opportunity to discuss a little bit after this session. And then please take the messages out into your communities, in your groupings, and out to the street, because it's absolutely necessary to build up more awareness. Thank you so much, and bye-bye.